was one lesson that I would hope you would take away from my videos, it would be to check your ankles. And also to wear sunscreen. Please wear sunscreen, besties. It's very important. Hey, besties. It's Nat, back again with another video on my post-apocalyptic city core themed island of Tokyo 3. That's right, besties. Here I am, back again, standing here before you on this very precarious bit of terraforming here. You may have noticed to my left this gorgeous and stunning beach build that I did a couple of weeks back. I'll have that linked in the description for you if you want to watch it. That build sort of represents the post-apocalyptic side of my island, Tokyo 3. You know, the side that's been ravaged by nature and by giant monsters and aliens and robots fighting each other. And then to the right of me, currently there is a mess, but presumably by the end of this video, it will represent the city core side of Tokyo 3, because today, besties, we are fulfilling one of my ultimate dreams in Animal Crossing New Horizons, which is to build a school. Now, my previous island, Nautilus, was sort of like a cute little New England coastal town, which didn't really leave a lot of room for like a giant city school, especially like a more modern school. But this island is based off of one of my favorite animes of all time, Neon Genesis Evangelion. You don't have to have seen it to understand the island, besties. I want to make that very clear. But one thing you should know about that show is that the kids in it go to school, which means that I get to build a school. And I am very excited about that. But we have a couple of issues that I need to address in this intro. The first one being that I don't actually know if I have space to build the school to the right of me over here. I'll throw up a picture of my map really quickly so you guys can have a bit of an idea of where we are right now. But we are in the absolute top right-hand corner of my island at the moment. So we might build it here, but we might also build it here, which is on the top left-hand corner of my island, which is directly above my train station build. Another fabulous build you can check out if you want to, besties. I don't know, but you should stay here. You should stay here and watch this and then go check that out. But we might also build the school down below the beach build near my town hall, which is sort of in the bottom right-hand corner of my island, which is currently also a mess. But no matter what, besties, we're building a school today. I was really inspired, actually, by Belle's acnh, an amazing account, which you should all go follow on Instagram. Their island, Suzerain, also has sort of a stereotypical Japanese school build on it. And it's also like sunken down from the street level, which I really wanted to do. And furthermore, besties, most importantly, it's small. So hopefully if I sort of create a school with a similar layout, it'll fit in the spot where I want it to go. So that is what we're gonna be doing today, besties. I hope you all are just as excited as I am to finally be doing this build. I've been looking forward to building a school like this ever since I picked this island theme, and it's finally happening. So today we're gonna be working on the exterior, and then in a future video, we're gonna be working on the interior of the school. So get excited for that, besties. And actually, if you're not already subscribed, make sure to subscribe and hit the little bell to be notified every single time that I post, so you don't miss out on that video or any other future Tokyo 3 builds that you might wanna see. And one more thing before we get started, actually, besties. A couple videos back, I shared this fundraiser for Ibrahim and his family living in Gaza, and I wanted to shout that out again, so I'll have their GoFundMe linked in the description. They are really close to their goal, and it would mean a lot to me if you could slide them $5, $10. It really, really adds up. I'm gonna talk more about that fundraiser at the end of the video, but for now, besties, grab yourself a snack, grab yourself something to drink, and let's get right into it. Hi again, besties, voiceover Nat here, and we are very rudely interrupting Sprocket and Cephalobot's fishing date so we can proceed with the build. Sorry to the two of them, but we need to demolish this entire area, including the little spot where they're fishing. But apologies for the audio issues in the intro. Those of you who know me, despite the fact that I've been on YouTube for quite a long time now, my microphone and I are always at war with each other, and that actually came to a head this week when I was moving my equipment around and I dropped my microphone on my foot, and now my pinky toe is injured, and I'm very upset because when you're hearing this, when I'm recording this, there is a Pikmin Bloom Community Day that's about to happen, and I'm gonna miss that now because my toe is injured because of my evil microphone. So just keep that in mind. If the audio issues do crop up again, I'm really gonna try and keep them from doing that. But if they do, just know that it is with malicious intent from my microphone to destroy me. Anyways, we have just finished demolishing this area, and we're also going to move Petrie's house in a minute. We are just extending my gorgeous and stunning road out a little bit further so we have a view from which to see the school. If you'll recall from that great picture from Belle's ACNH's dream address that I checked out, and I highly recommend you check out, once again, go follow them on Instagram. Their school was down below on the first level, and there's a view of it from the second level, and there's like a courtyard in front. I'm like, that is exactly the type of layout that I need for my island. Because if you'll recall, besties, I mentioned in the intro, this entire island is based off of the anime Neon Genesis Evangelion, which you don't have to have seen to understand the island. Like I said, it is primarily a post-apocalyptic city core themed island, which is for everyone. But I do go back and reference and do research into all the builds to make sure that I'm sort of accurately reflecting how the areas look on the show. But that actually ended up being kind of troublesome for this build, because in the original run of the show, as far as I know, besties, don't go pulling out receipts on me now, besties. I can't handle that mentally. As far as I know, there are not a ton of shots of the outside of the school, particularly like the front of the school. There's a lot of shots from inside the school. And then there's this courtyard area where Toji beats up Shinji, which I unfortunately was not able to include, besties. I know it's a tragedy. But the front of the school doesn't get a lot of time on screen. So luckily, in the episode where they dance, which is the best episode, there are some shots of the front of the school, and that is how I sort of got the inspo for the shape of this build, along with that Belle's ACNH build, because there's a scene where all the kids are arriving and there's like a moving walkway sort of above the ground. Tokyo 3 has a lot of levels, besties, which I really enjoy building on this whole island. But there's like a walkway above ground, and then there's like a little staircase that goes down towards the schoolyard. So we're going to have that. That's what that little bump out is for over there. We're going to put a staircase going down, and then the school is going to be on the first level. So that is sort of the picture that I had in my head. And right now we're actually carving out the shape of the school. And once again, that was why it was so helpful to visit Belle's ACNH's dream address to actually measure how wide the school is, how many tiles wide it is. So there's 4 like window tiles on each side, and then there's 2 tiles for the door in the middle. So it's 10 tiles wide, and I had barely enough space. I wanted to have space on either side to have like trees and stuff covering the sides of the school, partially just because in the show itself there is a lot of like wooded areas around and behind the school, but also because it's right next to another build and the ocean, and I don't want you to see either of those things when you're looking at it from the front. So I needed to cover those up somehow, so we're gonna leave some room for some trees and stuff on the sides, but it fit perfectly. There was like exactly enough room, at least horizontally. Vertically, like from where I'm standing to the back of my island, that was a little bit of an issue when I was working on this. I am planning on, like I said, doing this in multiple parts, and in one of the next parts, we're going to work on the back of the school, particularly the view from the rooftop, because it's accessible. And I want to do like a mountain sort of view from that back area, but I don't have a lot of space back there. So we'll see how that turns out. That's a problem for future me. Past me, current me, she doesn't have to worry about that. Right now, she's worrying about placing down the dirt that is going to be the schoolyard area, which is very relaxing, despite the fact that Flick and Cephalobot both... Oh, I'm sorry. That's Ribbot. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, bestie. I would never confuse you for an octopus. Despite the fact that they're wandering around the entire time. Oh, by the way, this is going to be one of those videos where I am constantly checking my angles, besties. If you know anything about me, is that I love to check my angles. I need to make sure that photo op is perfect. So we're going to be going up that little ladder that I put down over and over and over again throughout this build, just to check to make sure everything looks right. I definitely did that sort of thing on my first island, Nautilus, but I feel like I'm doing it so much more often on Tokyo 3 just because so much of Tokyo 3 is recreating, as best I can, actual shots from a TV show. So like I'm checking to make sure that it matches the shot. With this build, I didn't have to worry about that, which was actually really refreshing. But instead I was worried about, you know, the size of the school, making sure that it looks big from far away, but not so big that like it gets cut off by the camera, like the top of it isn't too tall. That was all stuff that I was considering while I was building this. But right now we're actually scooting it back slightly, once again, considering that view. And later on, I'm going to be a clown and have to scoot it back even more. But that is, once again, that's a problem for future me. And by future me, I mean past me, who at the time of recording was future me. But right now we're customizing the simple panels that are going to be the windows and doors. I'll have all the codes that I used in this build in the description, besties. And they're also in the description of some of my past videos on Tokyo 3. But we're going to be using a mixture of these simple panels along with the wide display stand object to build the school. And that was actually the part where I did the most like experimentation, like with what objects I wanted to use and like in what orientation to sort of make it my own, I guess, and also like to make it look the way that I wanted it to look. So that is the part that's going to take me forever to figure out, and a lot of experimenting, a lot of fiddling with things, and eventually it became something that I really, really like, and I think it's really, really cool. I'm really proud of this build, and I'm really happy that I got to build a school. I don't know, y'all don't understand how excited I am for this. I've always wanted to build a school. I remember watching like way back in the day, like back in 2020, like before I even started posting videos, so many city core island tours where they had school buildings like this and being like, I wish I could have this on my island. I wish I could have like a modern school with a little courtyard in the front. I wish I could have like road codes that look like a real road. Mind you, I ended up actually using a road code like that on Nautilus, but Nautilus's theme still didn't really fit with this type of school building. Like this is very obviously like a stereotypical Japanese school building, and Nautilus, like I said, is a New England town based on where I grew up. So I actually ended up using the town hall as sort of like my school on Nautilus because it's right in front of the playground area, so the implication is sort of like, oh, that's the playground behind the school, and it actually kind of looks like my elementary / middle school that I went to when I was a kid. So that ended up working out fine, but I never got to build the school of my dreams. And now that dream is becoming real and I'm fidgeting with things and messing with things. And eventually it turned out looking really, really cool. But we have to go through, like I said, a lot of drafts before we get to the final version. And here you can actually see me checking that camera angle issue that I mentioned previously. I wanted to make sure that the school wasn't so tall that it was cut off when you like walked by it, because that is obviously on the second level, that view of the school. And I wanted to make sure when you went into your camera app that when you looked at it, it was fully in view, but still looked tall and imposing. And I also check throughout this video the glitched version of the camera. I feel like maybe glitch is a strong word, but if you didn't know, if you have the unlock in the game where you can do the first person camera, if you go into first person mode and then sort of push the camera as far up as possible and then go out of first person mode, you can push the regular camera up a little bit taller than normal, and you're going to see me do that throughout the video. I cut out the part where I actually like zoom in and then zoom out because it kind of makes you it's a little much when we're sped up 5 times, besties. Even when I'm editing it, it kind of makes me a little bit seasick to like cut that much, so I cut that part out, but you can see me paging the camera up and down throughout the video, and that is what I'm checking, besties. I want to make sure all my angles are right. But speaking of angles, this was actually one of the most challenging parts of this build, was making sure that the clock was in the right place. A lot of these builds utilize this park clock item to look like a clock tower in the center of the school, and I wanted to have that just to like signify like, oh, this is a school. I feel like that's like a very easy way to visually tell people like, oh, this is a school building. It's part of like the stereotypical image of a school that sort of goes along with all of this. But this item was so tricky for me to place because I wanted it to like sit in a certain spot and it just wasn't going where I wanted it to go. Also, the issue of the clock being so small and also being white and like blending in with the surroundings, it just looked weird and wrong, and the shadows it cast were super weird. But eventually we did figure out a solution to all of that, but it's going to take me a long time to get there, besties, so please be patient with me. Okay, I just wanted my school to look cool and nice like everybody else's, and I was struggling a little bit, but it ended up okay in the end, and I really, really like how it turned out. And the secret ended up being to just change the color of the park clock to a different color so that it actually stands out against the white background, which, you know, I could have figured out a little bit earlier than I did, but to be fair to me, a lot of people match the color of the park clock to the color of the school. So I'm not the only person doing that, and a lot of people have schools that look really cool that do that. And I also tried using the wide display stand with this code that I found by literally just searching clock in the custom design portal app thing. So thank you to this person who made this code. I didn't use your code, bestie, but it was really helpful to get a look at what this could look like. I've seen people do schools like this, and I think it looks really cool, but it just wasn't what I wanted for my build. And I was really struggling with the height of that center tower area because I didn't want it to be so tall that it got cut off by the camera, but I didn't want it to be so short that like it looked like the proportions were off with the park clock item. And I don't know, it was really tricky to figure out, and that was like the hardest part of this whole thing, but I figured it out in the end, besties. It just took me a minute. But of course, as a result of that, a lot of this video is me fiddling with this middle bit, so get used to it, besties. Funnily enough, this build, I feel, is really a really great representation of the New Horizons YouTube experience, because it represents two core pillars of this channel. The first being that I love to steal. Obviously, this is hugely inspired by Bell's acnh. Shout out to them again. And the second pillar of the channel being that I figure everything out off camera. Now, don't worry, besties. I did go back and re-record the parts that I did do off camera so that y'all can see my process and see how the build actually comes together. But it continues to ring true, for me at least, that I get all of my best thinking done when I'm not sitting at my desk recording. I don't know, I love making these videos, like, do not get me wrong. I absolutely adore making videos and like the creative process of it, but sometimes when you're sitting at your desk with your recording software open and you can see like how much time you've spent just staring at your screen, accomplishing nothing and like making things over and over that you don't like, it can be really stressful and overwhelming. So sometimes you gotta take the switch out of the dock and go sit on your couch and get a fresh perspective on the build that you're working on. You know what? Actually, that kind of raises sort of an interesting question, or at least interesting to me as the person recording this, because I do ask pretty often, what do y'all get up to while you're watching my videos? I know a lot of y'all put on my videos to have on in the background while you're doing something else, like if you're drawing or you're cleaning or you're playing Animal Crossing. And first of all, I absolutely adore that because I also do that with Animal Crossing and Sims videos on YouTube. But also, I appreciate that y'all like my story times, that y'all like my voice. But I know that some of you watch my videos with the intention of actually getting instructions on how to build something and like looking for inspo for your own Animal Crossing island. And I know that because a lot of times people tag me on Instagram or post on my Discord builds that they've done that are inspired by my builds. And first of all, let me just say, that is the most flattering thing in the world to me. Like, I've mentioned before, besties, I love to steal and I love getting inspo from the community. So the idea that someone would like look at my build and get inspo the way that I look at like Bell's acnh or Kanyan Mori for inspo is so flattering, and I absolutely adore it. So please keep tagging me in your builds. I absolutely love to see them. But I'm curious how many of you clicked on this video with that intention. Like, I haven't asked that question in a while. Like, how many of y'all are getting inspo from this build and from this island in particular, because the theme is so different from my previous island that I can totally understand, like, if you subscribed for Nautilus because you were interested in Nautilus type builds and then I switched up the island to a completely different theme and now you're subscribed because you like to hear me yap. You know, like, that's totally a valid reason. Whatever reason you're here, I'm very happy to have you, bestie. But let me know if you are watching with the intention of using this as like inspo or as a tutorial. Let me know if the stuff that I'm showing makes sense. Like, I'm very aware of the fact that my build videos are very messy and kind of all over the place because I'm trying to show like I'm trying to show my entire process, including the parts where I don't know what I'm doing. So let me know if the parts where I'm actually trying to like give instructions or like show the things that I did that I ended up keeping, the parts that y'all might actually want to get inspo from. Let me know if those were clear and if there's anything I can do to make them more clear in the future. That's what I wanted to ask, besties. But right now we're working on the rooftop, which actually was inspired by the rebuilds, which I think I briefly mentioned earlier, but I can't fully remember because as I'm recording this, my AC is still not fixed. If you don't know, besties, my AC broke maybe like a week ago, and it still has not gotten fixed yet. And if you know anything about how hot it is in the southern United States right now, it is a bit of a problem. It's not like I'm not in danger or anything, besties. I do have fans in my apartment, so I'm not like gonna cook in my apartment or anything, but it is quite hot, and I did turn the fans off for the purpose of this recording, so if I end up being a little incoherent by the end, it is because I am kind of melting right now, but I'm fine. Don't worry about me, besties. But actually, I think I was gonna talk about the rooftop area, but we are gonna cut back to the clock tower part of the build now, so we'll talk about the rooftop later, besties. But I am just getting rid of the wide display stand that has a little clock design in it. I honestly do like that look. I do like the sort of modern square clock in the wall. Every time I say the word clock in this video, I'm scared that it's gonna come out sounding like a different word. And I'm not gonna elaborate on that, besties, but I just wanna apologize for how many times I have to say the word clock in this YouTube video. It's not ideal, but it is what it is. I wouldn't normally talk like this in my YouTube videos. Actually, You know what, besties? You know what, besties? I can have a little bit of a girl boss moment here. This is a perfect time for me to plug my channel memberships that I just started, which, no worries, besties, I will do this very quickly while I'm working on the road outside of the school. And I specifically remember when I was working on this build that I was so sick of working on the school building that I was like, you know what, I'm putting this down and I'm just going to do the road because I know how to do that. And if you want to see a more in-depth tutorial about how I use this fabulous road code by Macally, you can check out my entrance speed build, which is in the Tokyo 3 playlist. I'll have it linked down below. But yes, I recently started channel memberships, which are basically like Patreon inside of YouTube. Right now, there's one tier that you can join, the Extra Besties tier, and it's just $2 a month. And the current perks are at least one extra video a month and at least 2 extra live streams, members only live streams. And the reason that that's relevant to our previous topic of conversation is because you may not have noticed this, but I don't curse in my videos just for personal reasons, but I don't do that in real life. I do curse in real life because I am a grown lady and I am very self-aware of the games that I know will bring that out of me, besties. And I wanted a place where I could stream those games. So that is sort of one of the intentions behind the channel memberships. It's also just a way for y'all to support me and get something out of it in return because y'all are so kind to me and support me so much and I really appreciate it. And I wanted a way where I could give back a little bit to the community. But yeah, those are channel memberships. Like I said, they're $2 a month. You can join with a little join button below the video. You get extra live streams, extra videos, and later on we're going to be adding emotes, which I'm very excited about. And thank you all so much to everyone who's already signed up, genuinely. It warms my heart so much that y'all are signing up for memberships and gifting subs to people. Like, that's incredible. Thank you so much. But let's move on from the self-promo for now. Let's get back to the build. By the way, besties, all the Animal Crossing stuff, all of the Tokyo 3 stuff, that will always be free. That's always for all the besties, so no worries about that going anywhere. But we're back to actually working on the school now, and I finally figured out off camera, like I mentioned before, how I want the top bit to look. And the key was changing the color of the clock so it didn't blend in so much with the school and it actually like pops. And I feel like the black is really nice because it sort of matches the windows a little bit. And we also use the simple panels to hide the stem of the clock so it looks more like it's in the wall and there's less of that issue of like the shadows looking weird casting onto the simple panel behind it. Hopefully now I don't have to say the word clock anymore. Hopefully that part of the video is over. But we're back to working on the rooftop and I can talk about the rebuild of Evangelion, which I've mentioned previously in videos. Long story short, there's the TV show Evangelion from the 90s and then there was a movie that's part of the TV show, and then later on the guy who made the TV show, Hideaki Anno, he remade the whole story as a series of movies, and that is the rebuild of Evangelion. And I personally don't love the rebuilds, which is actually kind of ironic because the previous video that I did for Tokyo 3 was actually heavily inspired by the rebuilds. And I am going to self-promo one more time, besties, because I think after you watch this video, you should go watch that video because it's one of my favorite interior builds I've ever done. I did a lot of like really weird stuff in it that I've never done before, and I'm very proud of how it turned out. But even though I personally don't love the rebuilds a lot, they were very helpful for this build in particular because a lot of scenes, particularly in the first 2 rebuilds, take place on the school rooftop. A lot of very important scenes, actually. So it was very helpful in having like something to do with the back of the school. And I'm using this green fence, which is accurate to the school in both of those films. But I had a little issue with where to put it, and it had to do with the height. So as you can see in the front, once again, we're having that same height issue I had before, where I think the fences just make the school look a little bit too tall and sort of mess with the perspective. And then in the back, I hypothetically could have put the fences on that 3rd level to make it sort of more accurate to how that fence would actually be placed on a rooftop in real life. But I thought it would be easier to like wrap them around the 2nd level because I don't know how I was going to connect them on the corners because of like the space that I had. So I ended up putting them on the 2nd level and having them sort of peek out over the top. And right now we're demolishing the back of the school, which is later going to become the view that I talked about at the beginning of the video, which is the reason that the school is going to be in multiple parts because I did not have the mental bandwidth to figure this view out after figuring out the entire school building itself. Like I did not have that in me, besties. I like I said, I was at the point where I was taking my Switch out of the dock and going to my couch to figure stuff out, so I did not have it in me to figure out this view. But we're gonna have to adjust some of the parts of the beach build, as you can see to the left over there, just to make sure the transition between the two areas is smooth. But once again, that's a problem for future me to figure out. Right now, I'm figuring out the front of the school, which is the topic of today's video, and we're placing down the trees, and we're actually going to be doing the tree glitch. Now, I've done the tree glitch many times before on Nautilus, especially when I was building my mountain build. That was like the most complicated thing I might have ever done in this game, even more complicated than like the stuff I've been doing on Tokyo 3. But right now I am trying to fill out the sides of the school to make it look more forested and sort of tucked away, and sort of visually separate it both from the fake beach on the left and the real beach on the right, so you can't tell like how close it is to the edge of my island. And in order to do that, I wanted to have like really thick foliage, so I'm going to be using the tree glitch to sort of place more trees in this small area than I normally be able to do. So there's lots of better tutorials on this on YouTube, but basically we are using the terraforming tool and the waterscaping tool to make this weird little indent, and we're going to plant the tree on that corner bit right there, and then we're going to be able to make this bit of terraforming a lot smaller so we can place more trees on the ground level closer to the terraforming to make the foliage look a lot thicker in a very small area. And we're also going to be placing a third day tree on that little bit of terraforming behind the regular size tree. So we're doing like double tree glitch, besties. We're going to be doing different ages of trees, you know, very complex tree stuff going on in this game. Stuff that I'm very familiar with, like I said, from Nautilus, stuff that I didn't think that I was going to be doing on Tokyo 3. I'm going to be honest, I was not prepared for doing tree glitch on this island, but I guess it was inevitable, besties. There's a lot more foliage on Tokyo 3 than I gave it credit for now that I've been like rewatching the show and looking at the city more closely. And we'll talk about that more in a minute, besties, but this is the part of the build where I very foolishly realized that I needed to scoot the build back one tile. I mentioned earlier how I was trying to get the view of the school right from that second level, and I needed it to be scooted back so that the height wasn't an issue. And I realized as I was placing the fences down in the back of the school, because they're 2 tiles wide, so I'd sort of planned in my head for like how deep the school had to go to like match up with the fences, but I realized that I had an extra tile. I was like, wait a minute, I can scoot this entire build back a space. So I did move the entire build back a space. And speaking of foliage, I'm placing back down these plant partitions. I didn't actually mention that when I placed them down initially, but one of the parts of this build that was actually really fun was that a lot of people build like sort of stereotypical Japanese schools on their island, and everyone has like a slightly different approach of what items they use and like what orientation they have them in. So lots of people use fences, lots of people use bookshelves, and it was really fun to like experiment with what items I wanted to use. And I really liked the look of having the planters sort of in front of the symbol panels there to sort of cover up the windows a little bit and sort of make the school look grander, I guess. I don't know. And it, once again, it really matches with the theme of the island, because Tokyo 3, it is a post-apocalyptic city. It's 15 years into the apocalypse, besties. Global warming is going crazy. Everything's super overgrown. It's summer all the time. There's lots of greenery everywhere. Oh, and I actually just placed down the concrete simple panels on the side of the road there. But the island has a lot of concrete and greenery, which I think is just such a cool aesthetic. And it's been really cool seeing it like come together as the island is progressing. But right now we're planting our trees, and we're going to do a little time skip 3 days in the future so we get our 3-day trees, which I really like because they're only a little bit smaller than regular trees, but the height difference is noticeable, and it's really helpful when you're trying to, I don't know, make like a variety in the trees, and also sort of for perspective. Once again, besties, I don't think I have a full grasp on how to do perspective builds yet. I am getting better at it, and I think that the beach build to the left of us right now is proof of that. I think that I am improving, but you know, I'm still learning, and that's part of what's so fun about Tokyo 3. It's also part of what's so frustrating about it and stressful about it, but it is fun at the end of the day, and I am really enjoying how the island is coming together. But we're just extending the sand a little bit, and we're gonna adjust our trees a little bit and move them around to make sure that we have a good coverage, and so all of our angles are covered, besties. You gotta check your angles. In fact, if there was one lesson that I would hope you would take away from my videos, it would be to check your angles, and also to wear sunscreen. Please wear sunscreen, besties. It's very important. Besties, we have a development unrelated to the contents of this video. Actually, this whole video has been very build focused. I've been very like on topic today, which is very unusual for me. So I hope you've been enjoying that. I'm sorry to all the people who enjoy my like crazy story times that I do. I don't have one for you today. Hopefully by the next video. Actually, no, I don't hope that for me. I hope that all my story times in the next video are very normal and nothing crazy happens to me in between now and then. But let's talk a little bit about non-Animal Crossing related stuff. I just got a package from Barnes & Noble, besties. Actually, this is kind of related to the channel because the first video that I posted for channel members was actually a manga Rex video because I have a quite substantial manga collection. I've really gotten back into reading through manga over the past couple of years, and I thought it'd be fun to do like a little Rex video, which I really enjoyed making. That video was a lot of fun. And I want to do a couple updates on some of the stuff that I talked about in that video. Actually, no, quick aside about the build again before we get into that. This peninsula I'm thinking of decorating when we decorate the back of the school, because the school has a lot of buildings that are around it that sort of blend in with the forest a little bit. And so I wanted to add like some fake buildings back there and maybe also incorporate Sprocket's house, which is on the beach over there. I did end up moving his house at the end of this build just for the sake of making this build feel more done. But I might end up putting it back. We'll see. I don't really know, besties. Once again, that's a problem for future me. And right now, current me is placing down these wheat fields to help transition the school and the beach between each other, and also to help fill out the space a little bit more and make the foliage look a little bit thicker. But as I was saying, besties, on the topic of books, one of the manga that I recommended in my Manga Rex video, which once again, available for channel members right now, was I Hear the Sunspot, which is one of my favorite romance manga of all time. And recently, Volume 7, or Volume 2 of 4 seasons, which is basically Volume 7, came out in English, and I got to take a little trip to Kinokuniya, which is like a specialty bookstore that sells manga and figurines and stuff like that, and pick up the special edition that they sell. And I finally sat down and read Volume 7, and it absolutely broke me. I was literally sitting on my couch sobbing, crying at like 2 a.m. reading this manga. There is one panel in particular where I turned the page and I literally like burst into tears. I had to put the book down. It was so good. I cannot recommend I Hear the Sunspot enough, genuinely. I absolutely adore that series, and I just wanted to know if any of y'all have read Volume 7. I know my mod Chloe has. Shout out my mod Chloe, I love you, babe. I want to know if any of y'all have read it, and if it broke you as much as it broke me, especially that one panel. If you've read it, it's a full page panel. If you've read it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But yeah, if y'all want to hear more manga Rex from me, like I said, that's a channel members video out now. It's literally an hour long and it's really fun to make. But right now, we're working on the final part of this build, which honestly, I was looking forward to the most, which is decorating the actual schoolyard. So we've placed down some benches, and I also put down these little fences to sort of be like a bike rack. The benches were actually inspired by the scene in, I believe, is it episode 9? Is that the one where they dance? I don't remember what episode it was, but the one where they dance, the best episode, as we've previously discussed, in the scene where all the kids arrive at school and Asuka is sort of bothering Rei while she's sitting on the bench reading her book. And I am going to put a book down on the ground to represent where Rei was sitting. And I also put down this water fountain. I thought about using like the big hand washing station, which is more common in like a Japanese school, as far as I can tell, you know, as a dumb American. But it really didn't fit. Like, it was just too big, and it's sort of messing with the scale of the school when you're looking at it from far away. So I ended up going with the smaller water fountain, and we just decorated it with, you know, a soccer ball and some bikes and these leaf piles. And I planted a lot of weeds on the ground, and hopefully they will sort of become more overgrown, because once again, we're trying to do like a really overgrown aesthetic for this island. So I want everything to sort of look a little bit worn and a little bit unkempt, I guess. But as we're coming up on the end of this video, there's actually one more thing I wanted to talk to y'all about, and that is Lil Simsy's upcoming Simmers for Palestine event that she's hosting. If you don't know Lil Simsy, besties, she is a Sims YouTuber who I absolutely adore, and she's currently planning a huge charity event for the PCRF where she's gathering a bunch of Sims content creators to raise money, and I really want to participate in this event, but I'm not totally sure how. So I wanted to ask y'all what you think we should do. Now, I'm sure she wouldn't be upset if we got on here and we streamed Animal Crossing and we did like another island tour stream, because Animal Crossing is like a sim type game, but it is an opportunity to stream The Sims that I haven't done in a long time. And I thought it'd be really fun to do like an Animal Crossing themed sim stream. Like maybe we build Animal Crossing buildings in The Sims, like Town Hall or like the museum or Nook's Cranny, or maybe I recreate y'all's Animal Crossing builds in The Sims. And that would be kind of fun. Like y'all submit builds and they could be like a raffle type system, so you can donate and like get a chance for me to build your build in The Sims, or like build requests, something like that. I don't know. I'm just throwing ideas out there. Like I said, we could always just do another island tour stream. I'd love to see more dream addresses, but I just really wanted to participate in this event because it's really big and I want to get more eyes on it if I can. And I was planning on doing a PTRF fundraiser this summer anyway. So, you know, perfect opportunity. So let me know what y'all think. I consistently have the most generous community on the entire internet, and it blows me away, y'all's kindness and generosity every time we do one of these charity streams. So yeah, let me know if any of those stream ideas sound like fun. The event is between the 25th and the 28th, so be on the lookout for that. And with that, besties, we are at the end of the video and the build is complete. Oh, it's so cute. Thank you all so much for watching. Yes, I did have to trap Sahara to keep her out of my screenshots. But if you liked this video, make sure to leave a like and leave a comment letting me know. It really helps me out. If you really liked this video, you can subscribe and hit the little bell to be notified every time I post or go live. Reminder, this is a part 1 of a multi-part series building this school, so you're definitely going to want to subscribe and hit the bell so you can catch the rest of the exterior and the interior when those builds go up. And be on the lookout also for the Simmers for Palestine stream at the end of the month. Speaking of, I mentioned at the beginning of this video the GoFundMe linked in my description for Ibrahim and his family. Ibrahim is a teenage boy with Down syndrome living in Gaza. He and his family's home was sadly destroyed, and they're currently raising funds to rebuild it and just rebuild their quality of life. I've spoken to his family, and he is suffering terrible PTSD symptoms from what is going on right now, and it would mean the absolute world to me if you could click that link and donate $5, $10. It really goes a long way, and they are very close to their goal right now. So please check out the link below, donate $5, share it with a friend. It really does go a long way, and it would mean the world to me. But yeah, that's gonna be it for this one, besties. I really hope you all enjoyed this video, and I will see you all again in the next one. Bye, besties. I also really want to try doing member shoutouts at the end of videos. So if you are a member, let me know if y'all would be okay with me doing a little shout out for one of y'all for the next video. That's Ribot.